Hi guys, it's Quinn with PTSD While Black for Vlog Every Day in June. Apologize, I forgot to vlog yesterday because I was having an off kind of day. Anyhow, I go to a women's support group and we had a reading today that really had me thinking about um, things I tolerate, things that relationships. It's about relationships, how I behave in relationships, and how do I set myself up for failure in relationships or to be hurt in relationships. And like one of the paragraphs in the reading, it says, "It was relatively easy for me to lie to myself and say that I have not behaved in an insane way. Yet when I reflected on my family of origin and my religion's doctrines and teachings as a part of my step 2 work, I came to understand that insane thinking was normal in my family. I had learned to think that way from early childhood. It was this insane thinking that enabled me to deny and tolerate um, the behavior that was happening and active in my home, and eventually to participate in it as well. Um, we're learning to break the chain of the family disease. I'm slowly being restored to sanity. My peace, serenity, and connection to a higher power are greater than the insanity with which I grew up. I'm grateful that I have made a commitment to the steps so that I have the opportunity to know that there's a better way for me to live." And this is one of the Anon programs that kind of deals with, I would say, codependency, being a co-addict to someone else's behaviors. Um, and it really just made me look, because I was talking to my sister about this too, of of how as women, as black women from the South and the Bible Belt, we are conditioned to be appeasing, to not make men uncomfortable, to tolerate anything that's difficult, or even unsafe for us, or doesn't speak to what our gut is really saying, um, in order to not look like you're wrong, in order to not make a mistake, um, in order to keep a man, in order to in order to have your financial needs met, um, to not threaten one's pocketbook. Um, there's like this insane condition that a woman has to be all of these little things in order to be loved and accepted. And I think of this like my behavior before I married my husband, which was way before the concussion and way before the car accident, um, was of being appeasing. And I said this in the meeting today. I'm like, oh my God, I was basically modeled or given the conditioning that I can be the kind of woman that can be beaten by her husband and that I'll still love him anyway. Because when he hits me, he loves me. Um, that kind of mentality of, blame me or question me. What did I do wrong as a woman to make someone behave this way towards me? That's the insanity that they're speaking about in this paragraph that I was raised with, what is it that I did wrong to make this person upset? When in reality, I might be with somebody who is going to be upset just because I'm breathing, who doesn't know how to have healthy conflict with people, who doesn't know how to be vulnerable, how to express feelings, how to state that he has a need to be met. With that type of thinking and mentality that we grew up with, it's setting us up to be in these dysfunctional and abusive relationships. And I had some of that fear today because this week I've had a lot of pain in my knees. I was bedridden most of yesterday. Because it was hard to walk. I just, the bed to the bathroom. That was about it. But that being that vulnerable, to where I couldn't take care of myself, and I'm reliant upon somebody else to take care of me financially, and even some to have my basic needs met, for even like to buy my pads, to buy lotion, to buy shampoo, that I'm so dependent that I can allow someone to possibly abuse or neglect me. And I was really feeling that feeling of invisibility that comes from that. Um, Feeling invisible, that my needs did not matter, that that I try to diminish myself or make myself seem small, or my needs seem small, so as to not be an inconvenience to my husband or his family, or other people. That I was seeing that within me, and I'm like, I don't like that. Because, well, if I had a girlfriend who was feeling this way, I would tell her to love herself. I would tell her to just be herself, regardless of of what would make other people feel uncomfortable, to just be herself. And if it makes someone comfortable, then that's more for you two to discuss. I would say that to a friend, but I couldn't say that to myself. So yeah, that's the values conflict. I think that's what I'm having, is a values conflict of being able to acknowledge and recognize my own worth and validate myself, because I'm with a partner. Even my partner that I have now, no, he's not physically abusive, but in some ways he can be unintentionally emotionally abusive, just by being neglectful and not being present in the coupleship, or not stating what's really going on for him. So I could see myself like tolerating that kind of behavior, and the ability to be made invisible. And what I'm really dealing with, and this is going to be a long video, so I can just get it out. But what I'm really dealing with is the fear of the fear of losing love, and the fear of abandonment, but more the fear of vulnerability, and that fear of neglect. If I speak my needs, if I speak up and say this is what's true for me, I have this really strong fear that existed way before I met my husband. It existed probably way before I moved to California at the age of 19. It existed for quite a long time. And something that I'm recognizing, because my husband and I, we read this Dismantling Racism project, and each week we read about internalized racial oppression and internalized white supremacy. And for me, with the internalized racial oppression, it's kind of the stories that we have told ourselves about ourselves. And today I was really facing the fact that I've told myself that I'm not worthy of love based on what media and the whole world says about my race and gender. And so that I must tolerate abusive and violent relationships, that I must tolerate powerlessness and hopelessness, and have an inferiority complex, and to hate myself because I've taken on that story that your skin is hated, your hair is hated, your gender is hated. So I'm facing that, and I'm having to challenge that mentality. And on top of it, being a person of color with limited abilities, different abilities, there's also that self-hatred as well, that my body's not doing what I want it to do, that my mouth isn't saying the words I want it to say, that my brain gets confused while making guacamole. I have that self-hatred that, darn, you just can't seem to be smart enough or capable enough to be enough. So I'm really facing that need to participate in abusive and violent relationships and maintaining oppressive relationships. And looking at myself with maintaining oppression in my marriage is not having a voice and not saying that, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this plan of action, or I'm not comfortable with not having all the information to go forward in something. Um, and so I'm really having to face that fear. And with the reading that I was just sharing on, it's really that insanity, the insanity of my family of origin, that I have to be a certain type of way to be loved, to have value, and to matter. So I have to look at this part in me that is dysfunctional, this part that is within me that doesn't really serve me if I want to thrive. Because basically, this is a part of me that says, Quinn, you're not allowed to exist. You're not allowed to be here because you're going to be an inconvenience to someone else. And I have to say, fuck you, you know. I have to say, bye, Felicia, just like Harriet Tubman said. It's a direct quote. So that's where I am today, and I'm just sitting with that discomfort that it's more of a values conflict that I have, versus anything that's actually wrong in my environment. It's more of my values, or I'm shifting to see that this does not work for me. This pattern of communication, understanding, love, and relationships does not work for me. So yeah, just some stuff that I'm mulling over and working to do better on. All right, till next time, peace.